This is an emergency broadcast transmission. This is not a test. This is an emergency broadcast transmission. This is not a test. Please remain calm.
Welcome to the Narcissist Apocalypse. Wait, what's my show called again?
Oh my God.
It's the How to Survive the Narcissist Apocalypse podcast. What a great intro that was. We couldn't have...
So basically we've entered the apocalypse is what you're saying.
Yes.
Welcome to the apocalypse.
And for everyone wondering who the voice is on the other end, it's our old friend. It's Melissa.
Hello, everyone.
And I'm Chad. And today, it's we've been having a lot of narcissist abuse survivors on telling their stories.
Yeah.
And today we're going to be doing a different type of episode, ones that we're going to have a lot more, I guess, fun. Well, all of these are very interesting podcasts, I think. But this one is going to be detailing narcissists on TV and film, specifically today TV. And we're going to discuss the evil that is Ross Geller from Friends. Are you excited?
This is very exciting.
Very excited. So
this is very exciting.
Before, and for everyone who thinks Ross isn't evil, just wait. Just wait. Before we even begin, what's going on? How are you?
I'm good. To be honest, I've been living my life through these recent episodes. The stories have been really relatable and super interesting and, heartbreaking, but I feel connected to all of the women who have spoken on your podcast as of late. And, they all sound like super strong people, like incredibly strong people. So that's really been helping me lately.
Don't forget Elliot. Don't forget Elliot. We had
Elliot. I'm sorry. You're right. You're absolutely right. I shouldn't be leaving him out. No, you're totally right. I apologize.
No.
I think there was a bit of a gap in time.
Yeah,
like
Elliot was number 2, and then we had...
Yeah, and then you had some stories about your family, and then there was maybe 6 in a row or so. So
we had... last one was Anna. Shout out to Anna. The Countess. We had Jennifer. And there's
Miriam and Louise. Yep.
And Louise.
Yep.
I think that's... we had 5.
There you go. Yeah,
and you were the first. You were the first. It's been like 3 months when you were the first.
Yeah, and I have to, hand it to their storytelling. Like they really got into their story, and I, being the first one to have done it, I'm kind of thinking like, oh man, I definitely could have done that a bit better compared to, how detailed and honest they were. But I really appreciate that. And yeah, I've been looking forward. I'll check every day, like thinking, like, am I going to be able to listen to one today? Because it's just really comforting, and it makes you realize that, other people have struggled with the exact same thing, and other people have been blindsided by the exact same thing. It doesn't make you unintelligent or, weak to have gone through these things. It's, and I think one of the common threads was that there's sort of is this playbook that exists out there. I think a few of your guests mentioned that.
It's textbook.
It's textbook. It's formulaic. It's scary. And I never really caught on to that. I can't remember which guest it was, but I actually was listening to it, and I found myself going online and looking up how to know if you're dating a narcissist. And I actually, surprisingly enough, have never done that. And then when I started reading through them, I was so bummed out. I was like, man, these are so textbook. And I guess just at the time, I had no idea that that's what was happening. Only through talking to you and getting a new relationship with a healthy person, that's when I started to unravel it all and think like, oh, like that's what was happening. Like I just thought that we were just toxic together, but then you realize, holy shit, like this person's actually like there was actually, it almost seemed as if he was following these steps, you know? So I thought that was really interesting that a few guests sort of pointed that out. Like this is actually something you can go and like look in a book and find.
It's scary
You know,
when
it is scary. It is really scary. Like, sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh no, that was the end of my sentence. Scary was the last word in my sentence.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, to go to, like on that point further, it's also like, did that person know that they were like, did they actually,
what, so subconsciously or
yeah, like is it overt or is it, you know, I don't know if that's overt or covert, if that's how that's actually explained, but like was the person intentionally, you know, ticking off these traits in order to manipulate another person, or is it just like, you know, you're raised this way or something, like you're legitimately like come by it honestly? Like I don't know, I'll never know that, I don't think.
I think we'll get a real professional on here one day to answer.
That would be great.
Like,
yeah,
if that is, because I'm sure there are cases where they do know exactly what they're doing, like they really do. And then I think you're going to get the cases where the person really is just a reactionary human being.
Yes.
Where they don't know what they're really doing. They're just doing what they always did, and it got them whatever they wanted throughout life or didn't.
And it's interesting you say that because I was just listening to the one with Anna or Anna. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but she mentioned how her partner was like, you know, kind of losing himself in alcoholism and stuff like that. And I was thinking in my head, like, I was like, oh man, like my ex would have never let himself go. It was like he was so deliberate seeming.
And we're working. Melissa,
yeah?
It's up and running.
All right.
For everyone out there who had no idea what is going on, the SD card on the recorder became full this whole process. We had no idea where we really left off. And I don't know if we know how to even go backwards at this point and begin from where we left off. We know we were talking about, I think we were talking about, I have no idea. Oh, okay, this episode's off to a great start. You know, the fumble at the beginning, the card, now this.
I was talking about how so the stories were very relatable and that some, you know, not all narcissists.
Well, do you know what? Let's just not actually go into it, because what if we start doubling up on something that was already said? Then everyone out there is going to be real bored.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, let's just wash our hands of whatever was said, except the part when we eventually get into Friends and Ross Geller.
Perfect.
We discussed things that were going on in your life. My life I've been doing this podcast. That's been my life. Before, you know, when you texted me, are you ready? I was out walking along the streets, putting up flyers for this podcast.
What? Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, I was putting up some flyers. I went to I went to Cavendish Books. Remember Cavendish Books?
No.
It's the psychology kind of store, bookstore on Harvard near Spadina.
Oh, cool. I've never been there.
Oh, you've never been there? It's a great store.
No.
And a big shout out to the guy today when I walked in and I asked him if I could put my flyer up, and he said, "What's your podcast about?" And I said, "Narcissism and narcissist abuse victims. Here's the flyer." And he looked on it and he goes, "No problem, put it up." And then before I left, he goes, "I just subscribed." So a big shout out to that guy.
Oh, that's awesome.
At Cavendish Books. You know, I went to some coffee shops, the church, where I where I went to a Codependent Anonymous meeting. I went to that church.
Nice.
And the other day I put one in a bar. And so far, just kind of been putting it up. Hopefully people keep on listening because we're gaining some traction here.
Well, and you've been really busy. You've recorded like how many in short span of time?
We got some in the can already to be edited. Next week, I already have, I think, 3 interviews. I'm really looking forward to the ones next week. The one on Monday, someone is coming on named Jody Prowse. And she sent me her memoir in the mail. She was kind enough to do that, and I read it. Not like read it, the website, but read the book while walking to and from the office every day. I was able to read the book. You're going to like that episode specifically. A lot to do with addiction.
Okay, all right.
And
what are you saying about me exactly?
Sorry.
Said, what are you saying about me? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That if people wanted to see us at our goofy best, they could have come seen us in the crack den together.
Yes.
Just shooting the shit while being high or
being deviant,
or drunk. Great times.
That's really exciting. I was wondering, like, how are people reaching out? Like, are you?
I put a little note on Instagram, and I got a ton of people.
That's amazing. That must feel really good to get all those responses.
Yeah, I was pretty overwhelmed, and then.
But also it's disturbing because that means there's that many narcissists out there and there's that much abuse out there, right?
True.
Yeah. But people are willing to talk, and that's all.
Yeah, and it's been like really, and it's an honor. Everyone is comfortable enough to tell me, share their story with me. And besides that, how people have been, I got emails from people, someone from the UK the other day, someone from Germany. And so it's kind of worldwide.
Yeah.
So, European, Anglo-Saxon, worldwide. Trying to think what else has happened since then. Oh, I thought about you this morning.
What's that?
It had nothing to do with this podcast, and I thought about you this morning. I was on Twitter, and I'm saying and a lot. I have to stop that. I was on Twitter. I was reading. A friend of mine answered one of those like top 5 albums of all time. Like people, that thing, and people just keep on retweeting, and then you have to answer your top 5. And this guy does that. I know he does his tweet, and number 5 on his list of his albums that he's listened to the most. It's albums you had to listen to the most. Was Blink 182. What's the album with the jacket? What's it called?
Oh,
because I always thought that the one that I thought was the big one was Enema of the State.
Yes, Enema of the State. That was
because it's just a great name.
Oh my God! Take off your pants and jacket.
Take off your pants and jacket.
Go.
Yeah, so that was there. And then I started looking at all these different people's lists, and Blink 182 was on a lot of people's lists. I think that was the age of
No way.
Yeah, like I guess that's the age of if you were a kid, like you were 12 years, like when I was 10 to 12 years old, my number 1 album of like what I listened to of all time was at that age, because that's the one album you got, like you played it all the time.
What is it? Sorry?
Oh, that one for me was Appetite for Destruction. Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses, yes.
Yeah, I was like 11 years old, and I was like, this is the greatest.
Yeah. That makes total sense. That was the one of the popular ones of that time, right? And yeah, I guess Blink 182, like that was, I listened to that shit like on repeat.
Yeah.
I really did.
So that sent me on to like, I listened then to some Blink 182 this morning.
How long did that last?
That lasted one song. And it was
they're
all
pretty
the
annoying.
small things.
Which
that led me into listening to some Sublime.
Yeah,
and that lasted for a while.
Yeah, Sublime's a good one. Sublime is a little bit more lasting power.
It was just relaxing. That then led me into one song by The Offspring.
Yeah, which one?
Self-Esteem.
Yep. Good one.
Which is a great song for everyone. That should be the theme song maybe of this podcast.
Oh my God. Totally. The codependency in it. And
Yeah.
the narcissism. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
And then that finally led me to the end where, because I was in 1991, how old was I? I was 15 years old, 14, 15 years old. Hugely impressionable young man. And all I listened to for, I think, that whole entire year was Jane's Addiction.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
That's how I ended my morning. So it started off with Alana, Melissa. Oops, I gave your name.
Oh my God, it's fine, whatever.
And then
I want people to know my real name.
Oh God! And then it
So-
ended.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, then it ended with that, and then I went for the walk, and now we're back here and recording. And I guess
Great.
After that, do we have anything maybe to catch up on before we get into?
Well, I did just want to say
Yeah.
one thing about your music listening. You should totally do like an episode about song, because there's so much like unhealthy relationship
Songs
stuff in songs. Oh my God, especially
that people
now.
think are like the greatest.
Especially now.
People think are the greatest things, yet they're like just terrible.
They're so bad. And like, okay, if you listen to any pop song that's out right now, and I can't remember it might have been Dr. Drew that was talking about this, or maybe Bob Forrest. They were talking about how like terrible, like mostly women like singing in pop songs, like, you know, of the Twilight sort of. I know you talked a lot about the girl in Twilight, like that really desperate, awful attraction to these terrible men and like that are completely unavailable. And there's also this trend on like Instagram too, and like memes where it's like likes the guy that like wants nothing to do with you, and it's like nice guy approaches you and you're like, get away from me, like stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like that, like you just want these, and it's sort of like glorified in pop music. It's quite interesting. But I guess that's
glorified in pop music all time, or more so these days.
I was just gonna say, I think that's an all-time thing for sure. Like unhealthy relationships, sort of being like, you know, art imitates life, right? It's like they've always existed. And like maybe the 70s was a really bad time for it too, and that was a bad era for covert shit. But yeah, I think now it's really bad. It's really bad. Like,
can you sing one for us? I just want to embarrass you. Can you sing anything?
No, I definitely can't. No, not on the spot. But anyways, that's just a thought, because I know we're talking about, you know, famous people.
Yeah, like, you know, people like some pop culture episodes.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's always
I
fun.
enjoy the pop culture episode. I enjoy, because it's kind of like we're talking about real life, but we get a little bit of a break to talk about
Totally.
non-real human beings.
Well, and the Twilight one I found very entertaining. I'd never seen the movie or anything, but I felt like I watched all of it by the end, because I'm like, oh, this sounds so disturbing. Like, just
I could have done more voices.
Like, oh yeah.
I could have done voices for all of them. Like Tyler Lautner was more of like whining, just like, Bella, why don't you like me? Look at me. It's raining out. I have no shirt, and I'm beating up another guy. And then Team Edward Cullen would be like, Bella, you don't know me. You've only known me for so long. You misunderstand everything.
Oh my God.
But I don't blame you for screwing up all the time. You're beautiful. Even though you always suck. Come with me to the forest so you can see me sparkle in the sunlight. I'm not like all other vampires. I'm 120 years old.
Oh yeah, that's not creepy at all.
And you're 16. But don't worry. This is okay. Because I look your age. Even though I should be emotionally mature beyond your years, I'm not.
Yeah. Oh.
By the way, you're going to have my baby, and you may die from it, and then I'm going to blame you for almost dying and leaving me and your baby.
It's gotta be like the worst narcissist trick right there, right? Like that's like blaming a woman for dying for having this child.
Can I just say that whole time channeling Edward Cullen, I had my eyes closed.
Oh my God! I'm laughing so loud.
I was speaking into the microphone, eyes closed. I really got into it.
You did sound like you were in a trance.
And I was visualizing. Edward Cullen's face, Robert Pattinson, the dreamy Robert Pattinson, who I think is becoming Batman. I heard that today.
Oh, really?
He'll be like,
oh no, he's
a real narcissistic Batman. Oh, we should do Batman one. I mean, Batman is an insane person.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. I guess I have to watch a lot of Batman. Anyway, should we get into Friends?
Let's do it.
Okay. Hopefully what I'm about to do works, everyone. I don't know if it will, but hold on. Are you ready? This is our Ross Geller Friends episode. You just couldn't hear it. That's our Friends introduction. You couldn't hear that?
No, I couldn't hear anything.
It was through my computer, and I think it got sucked right into the recorder. You couldn't hear it.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Have you...
Sorry, continue.
Sorry. Have you stopped playing record right now?
Oh, no. It's being recorded. I just, what I did... I'm going to try something else for the next part, because that sound maybe wasn't the greatest.
Okay.
For everyone else. So,
okay.
While I'm looking for the next part on the phone, because I found this interesting clip of Ross Geller, and you found the same one on the internet of Ross Geller. There's a specific scene without a laugh track where he sounds like a psychopath.
He really does.
And what I'm going to do now, instead of doing it through the computer, I'm going to play this through my phone and then put the phone up to the mic. Hold on.
Ross, may I have a word with you?
Of course, Donald.
We've been getting reports of some very angry behavior on your part.
What?
Threatening letters, refusal to meet deadlines. Apparently, people now call you mental.
Yeah.
We want you to speak to a psychiatrist.
You don't understand. This is so silly. This is all just because of a sandwich.
A sandwich?
Yeah, you see, my sister makes these amazing turkey sandwiches. Her secret is she puts an extra slice of gravy-soaked bread in the middle. I call it the moist maker. I put my sandwich in the fridge over here. And
I'm sorry. I believe I ate that.
You ate my sandwich?
It was a simple mistake. It could happen to anyone.
Oh, really? Did you confuse it with your own turkey sandwich with a moist maker? Do you perhaps remember seeing a note on top of it?
There may have been a joke or limerick of some kind.
That said, it was my sandwich.
Now calm down. Come look in my office. Some of it may still be in the trash.
What?
Well, it was quite large. I had to throw most of it away.
You threw my sandwich away. My sandwich! My sandwich!
And that was Ross without a laugh track. Was that?
He sounds completely unhinged.
And Ross, everyone loves. Did you like Friends at all? Like, did you like it growing up?
I did. No, okay, so I never watched it when it actually came out, but I watched it last year.
Just like all my nieces, they watched it last year and the year before, like for the very first time, and a whole new generation of kids loves it.
They love it. They're like making those shirts are coming out again with the logo. Yeah.
So I watched Friends.
Yeah.
In the 90s, I guess the early 2000s. I may have seen all of the episodes at that time. We didn't really. We had the internet. We didn't have like the video of the internet that we do today. Mm-hmm. And so it's like Thursday nights was like a big thing. It was like Seinfeld and like this and other shows. I don't remember what else, but like Thursday nights growing up on NBC was always a big thing. And one of my favorite stories of Friends, because Ross and Rachel was the big thing, the Rachel do, but I never liked Ross. Of all the characters, the Ross was the one I always liked the least. And my favorite story of Friends has nothing really to do with Ross, just has to do with the show in general. I was 19 years old, and my roommate and I, we were living in Montreal at the time. And we decided, we're going to take mushrooms. And I will not name names. So we went out and took mushrooms. We were kind of walking around town, and eventually we went over to our friend's place. These two women, and they were our age, and we got there, and they were watching television. And one of them eventually went in another room, and then I just kind of crashed on the couch and kind of got into my mushroom, I'm part of the couch now kind of phase. And I'm watching. My friend is now beside me. Our other friend, she's now sitting kind of like perched on the arm of the couch, and we're watching Friends. And I'd never watched Friends before on mushrooms. And I think halfway through the episode, I just turned the two that were still in the room, and I was like, "This is a well-written show, huh?" I was so into like every single like cue and moment
funny.
that I was able to like break it down while watching it on mushroom, doing like laugh there, yeah, repeat there, third person chimes in right there, boom, 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 set up,
Yes.
joke. I'm like, wow, they really got that set up joke thing really perfect. So I was really able to break down the show in that state. I was like, wow, this is really well written. So that was like my. I never really even probably liked the show that much. Just on, and I watched it. It was like a cultural thing.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt too when I watched it. Like I was like, I feel like this is just. You don't have to like closely pay attention. It's just, it was sort of the time, right? Like it was, I mean, that's why these kids must like it now. Because it's like very 90s nostalgic, right?
Yes.
It's like, I kind of liked it too because they, they did seem to have legitimate like male-female friendships, which like wasn't a thing really
until they all got together with each other. Oh
yeah, like it for sure. It definitely fell apart, and it was not like as progressive as you think.
Oh no, I have like Ross. There, I have some notes here, where Ross is like the least progressive person around.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a real doozy. But before we get even into Ross as a human being, I just wanted to briefly discuss where Ross came from. And it all starts, everyone, with Ross and his family. And Ross comes from a dysfunctional family. Oops, I knocked the Friends thing back on. So everyone out there who's listening, Ross, where do we? His family. He comes from a dysfunctional family where I think it is his mother is a narcissistic human being, and Monica is the golden child. Sorry, Monica is the scapegoat of the family. She's overweight. She can't do anything right. And Ross is the golden child of the family. He's always perfect in every way. He flaunts it. He's turned into this very insecure thing. So his knowledge and his brain is how he shows his power. He's gets mad at Monica if he calls her tattletale a bunch of times throughout the show. So you kind of get so if Ross does something bad, and Monica's pretty much gotten the short end of her stick the whole entire life. So when she doesn't want to get in trouble for something, and she kind of stands up and tells the truth, he then reinforces that she's this tattletale. And that's kind of this terrible thing where he's just, growing up with him, I'm sure he's playing oh, no one likes me kind of role. I'm a loser.
He did.
I'm a loser, blah, blah, blah. But,
yeah.
But he's also on the flip side, this arrogant guy. So his family, let's see where I got some notes here on his mom. Here's the thing. In episode 2, called The One with the Sonogram, at the end, Mrs. Geller, who visits her daughter's apartment, fluffs the cushion, turns her nose up at the appetizer her daughter made, says the spaghetti... says the spaghetti is easy, and then goes on making spaghetti is easy, and then goes on to blame Monica for knowing about Carol and Ross's end of marriage and the pregnancy, and that their relationship goes on and on and on and on. So she's always kind of at Monica for doing ruining things. Monica discovers that her entire collection of childhood items, from artwork to toys, has been neglected in the garage. Because Monica's mom doesn't value any of her possessions.
Yes, I remember that.
Yet with Ross, she will. Ross can do no wrong in her eyes. So when she talks about Ross, she talks about Ross and his job and how what he works at that. What's it called? Was he a paleontologist?
Yeah. He works at the museum.
Yeah, he works at the museum. Always had a good job. Always been smart. And always counts off his accomplishments. So to set up Ross as a whole and their family unit, we're getting Ross was bred to be this type of individual where he's very passive aggressive, and we find out from that family unit and how they act and react with each other later on. Ross's relationships. We can go into the detail of Ross and Rachel before, Ross and Rachel ever got together. In high school, Ross was part of he created a club called where is it here? I wrote it down. The I Hate Rachel Green Fan Club.
Oh my God.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, that's right.
There was an episode where she started dating Brad Pitt in the show, because they were dating in real life, and that they were both in the group in high school together, and Ross was part of that whole entire thing. What do you remember Ross has done in the past?
I'm trying to think. I just remember him being very neurotic and very sort of always sort of projecting his insecurities and
playing the victim.
Yes, definitely playing the victim, 100%. But it's interesting you said the thing about the mom, because I never factored that into his person. Well, you should obviously, but the fact that she played her two children against each other. Do you think that makes her a narcissist?
Her mom, mom. Oh yeah, his mom is a narcissist. Or do you think?
Okay, that's what I thought you had said.
And he became a narcissist because of her. He can't see his narcissist. He's just a very manipulative.
But do you think that only exists because she had another child to play him against? Do you think if Like that, I've always kind of wondered that with siblings and
if
like
he was if he was an only child.
Exactly. Yeah.
He would. I assume if he was an only child, he would have gotten all of it. He might.
So
have been,
he would have been even worse.
Possibly, like she might have then compared him to, or he might not have been a scapegoat of any sort, but like she could have scapegoated him in some ways. Because usually, what happens in a family, if the scapegoat no longer is part of the family anymore, or let's say leaves over time because they don't want to be in it anymore.
Yeah.
Then the narcissistic parent will then start scapegoating whoever is next in line.
Oh, okay.
You know, they need to do it to somebody, so they'll just pick on whoever's next in the totem pole. And usually at that point, that person should start realizing, because sometimes that person can't put themselves in their siblings' shoes. Because in their eyes, they might be raised the same.
Right.
But at that point, you can then you might be able to be like, oh, what's going on? This is foreign to me. Why is this person acting like, maybe this is what's going on or happened to my sibling and I never got it.
Yeah, right. Gotcha.
So, the Ross. And what else do you know about Ross? Do you know that?
Go ahead.
Oh,
sorry.
no, he's super jealous guy.
Yes, very jealous, very like very kind of entitled. He broke some boundaries, I feel. Like he wasn't the best at, like having or respecting others' boundaries, I feel, like with Rachel. But at first, he does seem very charming. He's like that I think he kind of like paints that picture pretty well of like that initial like kind of grandiose charmer that seems very sensitive and in tune, and then
well this is the thing. He starts off as being your best friend. You can trust me. And so while you're trusting me, so even if we go with Rachel, trust me, but yet the whole entire time that I'm going to be your friend, he never told her that he had this I Hate Rachel Green fan club.
Yeah, that's very...
you know what I mean? Like it's like he hates her at the same time.
Yes.
He hates her.
It's very like misogynist almost. Like
it's
he
like,
really...
I hate you unless you love me.
Yeah.
I'm going to pretend to be this person on your shoulder, and I'm going to hate you unless you love me. Mm-hmm. And it's this whole entire victim thing where he's always like puppy dog eyes and like woe is me type thing.
Yes.
Like it barely does anything to... like there's nothing. Well, I mean, there's nothing macho about him. Not that you have to be macho, but there's not a lot of redeeming qualities. Like it's not it's not like he's very good to other people. You know what I mean? Like if that type of person that who is a woe is me or like a good guy, usually at least he's doing good things for other people, or you see him doing good things. People rely on him, but like even when even when he was having his baby with that first wife who turned out to be gay.
Yeah, he wasn't supportive at all.
No, I have a note here. Here it is. When his ex-wife reveals that she's pregnant with his child, all Ross does from the minute she tells him until the minute the child is born is try to prove that he's better than his ex-wife's new girlfriend. He doesn't do anything for the baby or anything for his pregnant ex-wife. And then when Rachel is getting ready to tell Ross that she's pregnant, he just assumes that she's there to ask to get back together. Because how could she not still be in love with a wonderful guy like Ross Geller? Mm-hmm. He always selfishly wallows in his own misery, and it's just a constant like, woe is me tale.
Yes.
I mean, other things Ross did in his history. So Ross is the golden child of his family. and Ross's parents come to see Chandler, and he's been friends with Chandler Bing for a long time. And Chandler and Monica, Monica's the scapegoat. You just want to be happy for Monica that she's finally found Chandler, and who knows if they're narcissists either. But that's for another episode. And in this episode, Chandler does not know why Ross's parents hate him, but it turns out in university, instead of Ross taking the blame for something bad that he did, which was to smoke marijuana, he blamed it all. He blamed Chandler. All on Chandler Bing, which
that's right.
It's something that can happen. Like I'm sure I might have done that.
But friends have done that to friends since the beginning of time.
But now Ross's sister is getting married. All you want to do is be happy for her. And he still can't get over this little thing that would make him imperfect in his past to even admit to it. So his family accepts Chandler for who he is. He couldn't even do that. He still had to keep the lie going. Ross always finds himself into weird predicaments with women. So, getting married to that woman, her name was Emily, that British lady.
Yes. Yeah.
Knowing that he didn't love her, knowing he was still in love with someone else and stringing them along.
Yeah.
And even when they got engaged and the chapel burned down and Ross was like, it was adamant, we still have to get married today. And she's like, well, I wanted, this thing's kind of getting in the way, but he was still just adamant that things were always going to be done his way. What other my notes I got here?
Well, can I interject one thing that I did read too, which was interesting, and you did mention Joey earlier. Not that it's about Joey, but this kind of, illuminates Ross, was that Joey truly loved Rachel. Like he actually seemed to, and this is something that I read. This is not my own idea, but I thought it made a lot of sense. And they were talking about how Ross initially sort of was going after Rachel, and Joey was like, hey, she's not into you. And he just was persistent. And then when Rachel gets pregnant, Joey was like truly there for her and like actually took care of her, like a genuine friend. And Ross was,
Ross is just stewing all about Ross.
Exactly. Yeah. And like very, yeah.
Like the world has wronged him once again, and everything was about him.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a pretty shitty human being.
He really is. I think it's the lightheartedness of the show that sort of masks
the laugh track.
Quite well. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, you had some more ideas there.
Oh no, there was one part I never remembered until I read about it. I don't even remember this episode, but it turns out that this is really narcissistic. In university, Ross throws his own funeral service because he thinks people don't care about him.
Oh my God.
So he goes to that length. And I know we're talking about a television show and ludicrous things do happen. But still, this is persistent behavior from childhood into adulthood. Later on, there was an episode with, what's that guy from She's All That? Freddie Prinze Jr.
Oh, yeah.
Freddie Prinze Jr. is a male nanny. And this is where we talk about like 1990 stuff that this would not fly today. Ross in this episode is upset. He's upset that his child, because it's a male nanny, that the nanny might be gay. And now his child is playing, I think, with dolls or a girl's toy, and he's upset about it and trying to get him to play with like G.I. Joes and things like that.
Yes.
So he is also anti-gay, Ross. Let's just throw that in there. He's jealous of men in one way, but he's also scared of gay men in another, especially how they influence his child. And he actually wanted to fire their nanny because he's perceived him as being gay and didn't want that influence in his house. Not because he was afraid of, the guy being, taking away his wife or anything like that, or his girlfriend. What else? He was jealous. There was the years when when Rachel finally got her job she went from working at the coffee shop and having zero skills, all of a sudden working for. Where did she start working? She started working for.
Oh, it was like not Hugo Boss.
She was now like a fashion. She was a fashion icon.
Yeah.
And there was a guy there named Mark. If you remember this kind of...
Yes.
And so Ross was so jealous because she always talked about Mark. So he assumed that she must be having an affair. And this became a staple of this era, or I don't know what season it was, of Ross's jealousy.
Yeah, and super possessive.
Very possessive, always calling and like sending like giant gifts to her. Just so she would love him more, and not this guy Mark, even though she just worked with him, and that all led to him being so jealous that it became the episode where the famous episode "We're on Break," where they went on a break from their relationship.
Yeah, and then they go to like a beach house or something. Then they were on a break there.
And then Ross slept with some lady. And then eventually when Ross wanted to get back together, she found out that Ross slept with someone. And she was like, how could you? And his response was, we were on break. And that became like a whole comedy bit. Of we were on break. It became a big tagline for at every water cooler. But in reality here, we're looking at this narcissistic guy who is jealous over everything, possessive, blah, 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 who's on her case, breaks up with, eventually it causes...
does all the damage.
Eventually causes, yes, exactly. He's the one that caused the whole entire breakup. And then within that breakup, immediately sleeps with someone and then wants to be forgiven. And when you look at the whole... Like when you're in the episode, everyone's probably like, come on, Ross or Rachel, get back together with them. But when you look at the whole, fuck Ross.
No. Yeah, totally. It's true. You kind of get like almost brain, like when you're in it, you're like rooting for them. But then when you take a step back, you realize like, oh God, that's a terrible relationship.
Yeah. And I think I remember the end. I don't know if that was the end of that season or whatever season it was. Because I remember loosely, because I have not seen it in a very long time. But I remember there's that one episode where I think maybe it's like Rachel at the window, where the window they look at like the naked guy across.
Oh yes.
She's at the window, and like it's like a sad moment. And I think I forget, maybe Ross is in another place, and like With or Without You by U2 is playing.
Oh my God! Yes.
Do you remember that?
Right. Yes. That's hilarious. I do remember that.
And it's like With or Without You. And everyone at home was just like, oh, I really hope they get back together. But now when you look at it, no.
No.
Fuck
right.
Ross. Yeah. Ross just sucks.
He does. He really does. He took too much of the spotlight on that show. Should have been about Joey.
And then like he got his own show. Joey's the only one that got his own show.
That's right.
So there you go.
So he did, yes.
But even after that, they break up, whatever. And then years later, I don't remember it very well, but they, I guess, kind of got drunk married or something, or married by mistake. And it's very iffy for me on this. And they got drunk kind of by mistake, and they got married, and then they did all the paperwork, whatever, to get it annulled. And then Rachel thinks the marriage was annulled. But Ross secretly still wants to be married and doesn't get it done.
Oh my God, you're right.
Because Ross
that was a slimy one.
Think about that. Like
that's really manipulative. That's terrible.
In the context out of a comedy, he's a psychopath. He's a sociopath.
Yeah, that is actually very that's terrible. That's criminal.
Yeah, it's criminal.
It is criminal. It is.
So, there's just there's a million different things. So, like, we could go over 1 billion of them. Like, he had a pros and cons list of 2 different women, one of them being Rachel. Like,
oh God,
I'm choosing between 2 women, everyone, because I can't decide. Let's have a pros and cons list. Have you ever done that in your life?
No, that's awful.
Like,
That's so despicable.
I think I'm God's gift to man or women. So these two are interested in me. Let's make a list to see who is better for me. If you love someone, you're not making a list. If you really loved Rachel at that point, then you're not making a list. Now he's like writing down on the list like
and then she finds it, right? She finds out about it.
Yeah, because at that point maybe she was working at the coffee shop, I think still.
You know what? Yeah, she finds out. I remember. And she calls him out. She's like,
that he looks down on her for working at a coffee shop. Like he has a superiority complex.
Oh yeah, big time.
Fuck Ross.
That kind of reminds me of the list in 13 Reasons Why, how gross that was. Like, just like how demeaning.
Just that she made that list in 13 Reasons Why?
Just the list,
just the 13 reasons.
It's so, no. The list they make, remember? Anyways,
about the girls.
About the girls.
Okay.
And that's such a high school thing to do. Like, he's so childish.
Well, 13 Reasons Why, I was very conflicted about the whole thing. Because yes, it's terrible. Now we're off topic, but still.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about that show actually. And you know what? To be honest,
for 1 second, we'll talk about it. Go.
I couldn't watch the last episode. It was too disturbing. It was too disturbing. Once it got to that point that's what it was about. Like all this time, I'm thinking like, okay, it's all these things that have built up, but that there was this awful fucking crescendo where she's actually like, I'm not going to give it away for people, but I couldn't watch it. I was like, this is too dark. And I get it. I didn't need to watch it to understand what it was saying. Like, I think I maybe missed the last like 15 minutes. Yeah, but it was actually, I found it like kind of graphic a little bit, even though there wasn't like action. Anyways, that's my, but I'd love to talk to you more about like the actual episodes and characters and.
Well, in that show, the one, like I was super into 13 Reasons Why when I started watching. I was hooked from the moment.
I was too. I
From the moment that hook came in. I had to take breaks
though.
And I binged it. And, eventually I was like, it's terrible what happened to her, that she passed, that she took her own life. Everything was terrible. But to put all these people in this blame situation on that list, where really they did, most of them did nothing wrong. Or nothing.
And some of them were actually victims themselves.
Yeah, that in itself was so. I'm not going to say. Is it narcissistic? It's like very.
You don't want to call somebody that commits suicide selfish,
but like,
or narcissistic. But
to do that is just so terrible for those people that are still alive. To put that your death on them.
Well, I think we're meant to take it. You know what? There's a few comments I have on that. I think we're meant to take it as a child's story. It was a young reader's book.
Yes.
You're meant to see it. Teenagers are inherently selfish. They're inherently.
Correct. She didn't know she didn't know what she was doing.
No, in a way, it's like it's kind of innocent in a way,
yes.
And I also feel that. The story was more about Clay. The story was more about how this actually really good, sensitive, like
codependent,
intelligent. Well, okay, fair enough.
Yes, very codependent.
Fair enough, but she was struggling through it, and you were seeing him struggle through it. And you were rooting for him, but you also you were conflicted because you're like, did he do something? Like he's on the. So that was the highlight for me.
He thinks he can save everyone.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I think you have to remember you're in a world of like
high school.
Yeah. So I think in a way. And I thought what was interesting about that story was I think that is a story very much of the times.
Yes.
That like teenagers are a bit more like because of like the internet and social media, they are a little bit more obsessed. And like, I mean,
am I being too judgmental? Maybe,
no,
maybe. Yeah, I could be.
No, I don't think so.
No, it's teenagers. I shouldn't be judgmental of teenagers.
But you have family that you have teenage girls in your family. You do have a perspective on it too. And I think that story was illuminating in a lot of ways. Like we'd have to do like a whole episode about that. I don't think you're being too judgmental. I just think that my coworker said she's younger, she's like almost 10 years younger than me. And she said, "Oh, I read that book in high school." And I was like, "Oh, so this was a young adult fiction book." And like that kind of put it in perspective for me. Same with like Twilight and shit. It puts it in perspective because it's like this is a teenage relationship story, but it also is kind of disturbing because it's like these are the like somehow these relationships have been modeled to them. Otherwise they wouldn't be acting them out in their adult life or pre-adult life, whatever. So I thought that was interesting.
Do you know who my favorite character on the show was?
Tony?
No, the mom.
Which one? The lawyer?
Clay's mom.
Clay's mom?
She was so
Why?
good. She was spot on. Like
you think,
not Clay's mom. Sorry, the girl who died. What was her name?
Oh, I don't remember her name, but that's interesting.
We can't even remember her name because she was. I can't believe we can't remember. But
you don't know any of the adults' names really the way that you do the kids. Like they're supposed to be.
Yeah, she just she was a mom whose daughter died, and the way she suffered through it, and wanting to know, and
right. But that mom was also. I mean, look at her.
I thought she was a real. I thought she was a very real character.
Yeah, she did seem real.
Yeah,
she did seem real. I really didn't like the counselor. What was up with that guy?
The counselor.
Like, why did he seem so shady all the time? Or did I miss something? The counselor.
You didn't watch the end of the show, did you?
Oh fuck! Okay, so I did miss something. You didn't
watch the 13th Reason, did you?
I think I missed it.
Oh, he was the 13th Reason.
I knew it. I knew he would be. I couldn't get through that scene. I just got to skip through it. I've missed an entire.
You feel really bad for him. In a way, he failed her, and he had to live with that.
Oh God. Okay, I gotta watch it now. I thought I had watched.
It's a very triggering show. I want to discuss it with my nieces, but at the same time, I'm not going to. I don't know. What it will trigger in them if I say we watch the show.
So they've seen it.
I don't know if they have. I've kind of not wanted to discuss it because I don't.
You're afraid.
I have. We have some sensitivities to certain things.
Oh, trust me, I found it hugely triggering too. I couldn't watch it all at once. I like some of the stuff and like just the way that like the male characters behaved was like kind of
there are warnings
disturbing.
all over the show on purpose.
Absolutely.
But anyway, back to Ross Geller.
Yes, sorry for that detour. I just we were talking about the list.
Fuck Ross.
And I thought about how like awful and just cruel and grandiose how grandiose that is of his character to create something like that.
We're talking about Ross?
Yes. Sorry. I was just
I have no idea.
I think it's really I guess for me like and they point this out in the show and sorry to detour again, but they point this out in 13 Reasons Why about how girls would never make that list. And it's like, I think Rachel kind of says that to Ross in the show where she's just like, this is terrible. Like, I would never do this to you kind of thing. But
you're saying a teenage girl would?
No. I don't think so. Oh. No. I think, because in the show, the one girl, her friend, Jessica, says, girls would never make. Anyways, that doesn't matter. We're getting off topic here. So, what else you got in the Ross Geller?
You reminded me of something. I forgot what song it was. Oh no, I know what it was. It was a music thing. There was a whole song, where I forget which one it was. Maybe it was like not Malibu. Oh, it's Celebrity. Remember Celebrity Skin?
You're talking about Hole.
Yeah, the whole song, like down and over, down.
Yeah.
And you just reminded me.
Help me, please.
Yeah, that's Malibu.
No, that's Malibu. Fuck.
So that song, Billy Corgan was always insulted that he never got like his due for helping out with that song.
Billy Corgan, really?
Yeah, and
People think that Kurt Cobain wrote that whole album.
Live Through This.
Yeah.
So,
is that the one where it's like doll arms,
doll parts?
Yeah.
So
okay.
Courtney Love said about the song, she's like, all he did was write that one guitar lick that goes da-na, da-na, da-na. And she goes, and just so you know, no girl in their life would ever write a guitar lick like that.
That's funny. I like that.
And I always remember that,
that's hilarious.
like that. I was like, because I'm not a musician. But in her opinion, like no woman would like it. To me, it was like an insulting kind of. Even though she played it constantly and it was part of one of her songs, like it was insulting that a girl would ever come up with such a lick that it was like just
great.
So not womanly.
Well, the fact that it's called a lick at all tells you that a woman never even came up with the term, okay? You want to talk about grandiose fucking narcissists. They're all in music, and they were all lead singers, and they were all dudes, so...
Oh, this would be a fun episode.
Oh, yeah, we could go into that so deep. Trust me, I know so much about classic rock too that I don't want to know.
Who would be the first? I guess now we've talked. Let's just be like, that's the end of the Ross part of the show.
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess we covered it somewhere. We did.
Robert Plant.
You would do Robert Plant?
Oh yeah, big time. He was like disgusting. He was awful. Yeah, he's terrible.
Well, the movie Almost Famous, I guess they somewhat patterned.
No, I think that was supposed to be about...
It wasn't Led Zeppelin? It was supposed to be about Led Zeppelin or no?
Oh,
because I loved Almost Famous.
Maybe it was. I thought it was about another band, but
I thought maybe like it was loosely maybe based on a bunch of different bands, but there was the part where Penny Lane is talking to the main character in the movie. And he goes, he sold you to Humble Pie for a case of beer. A case of beer. That's my imitation of him.
Great.
I'm dark and mysterious. I love Almost Famous. So, and then she starts crying. And then I think her response, like when she kind of wiped her tear from her eyes, she looked up and said something. I forget what it was. It was more, what was the line? She's like, was it at least like it wasn't like a non-light beer, but it was trying to like, was it a good beer kind of line?
Oh God!
Like as
it's disgusting.
No, it was her way of like deflecting and how heartbroken she was.
For sure. No, I don't mean she's disgusting.
And then she took Quaaludes and passed out and had to get her stomach pumped, and that was the end of her.
Well, lots of codependent groupies back in those days. Let's just say that.
Oh,
but
can we do? I guess I loved Almost Famous. I could talk about it all day.
I would have to rewatch that. I have seen it a couple times, but like back in the day.
I've seen.
You know what? I feel like that would make me upset watching that movie. Does that sound stupid? But like, I feel like it would be too like sometimes I find stupid stuff makes me like nostalgic and sad. Like with all the music in it.
Oh, it's great music. It is really great music. But it's like a strong mother, a single mom who raised her son well to respect women, has her daughter who thinks that she's too demanding, leaves home, and he always wanted to be in the music business, and
like a journalist.
Yeah, and he's set into the world of wolves of these narcissistic rock stars, and he does his best to not fall into their trap while trying to do his job technically,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
still be himself while
You're
living.
right.
Yeah. It's
I gotta rewatch that. That's a good one.
and then at the
Zoe
end,
Deschanel's the sister, right?
correct. And then at the end, it's like the redemption story of the rock star who realizes that why did he get into being a musician in the first place? And that's because he loved music. And then he sits down with this guy and kind of redeems himself in the end for lying and being a total asshole. I loved it. It's 2.5 hours.
It won best screenplay, I think, didn't it, or
That
something?
I don't. It in my heart. It won my heart. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, well, let's definitely think about that as a topic because,
Well,
and
we'll-
also,
or we'll
I
do-
mean,
or we'll do-
rampant.
Or we can do a band
addiction.
and like a specific songs. We'll think of something.
Yeah, no, we definitely could do that.
Because I think next time we do this, we're going to do Larry David, correct?
Oh my God, I have so much to say about Larry David. I have been watching Curb Your Enthusiasm for the last couple weeks, and yeah,
Larry David,
just...
and then followed by Arrested Development.
Okay, I have to tell you something though.
Yes.
So I told my boyfriend about what we were doing, and I'm like, oh, we might do Larry David. And he's like, I have this story about Chad and Larry David.
About me and Larry David?
Yeah, so he's remembering back in the day because you guys know each other.
Yes.
And he's like, I remember he said that he couldn't watch it because it reminded him too much of his family. And that it was... He remembered you saying this. And I'm like, really? And he's like, I feel like you would have said something earlier to me. Like
I don't know if I said. I think I feel sometimes I think it's a funny show. At a certain point, I stopped watching, not because it didn't it reminded me of my family, just because I was getting so angry and frustrated.
It is really frustrating to watch
while
sometimes.
watching him.
Yeah,
Like
I have to turn it off
Leon.
sometimes.
I love Leon.
Oh my God, Leon's hilarious.
But
Yeah. But
I think he has the shows mixed up. I think there must be another show that would have been a reminder of my family, not that show.
Maybe.
It had to be
just
something
It
else.
was a long time ago, so.
But yes, I do know your boyfriend, a.k.a. Buddy. Hey, buddy.
Buddy.
Hey, buddy. We're Canadian. We use that term endearingly.
Okay, we sure do. And I have to also tell you something else. So
Yes.
you got me that beautiful Enneagram book.
Yeah, so we've been talking about the Enneagram on the show. And on Monday, when I talked to someone, Jody Prowse, I gave her the Enneagram to do before. I already know the answers, but I knew what she was based upon reading
Did
her
you
book.
predict it?
Yes, I did.
And what was it?
We'll find out on...
Okay, we'll find out.
We'll find out on Monday. I hope everyone starts listening to the Enneagram, but I knew it. I knew exactly what she was.
You're pretty good at predicting.
It's a theory now of mine, because at first I was going to use the Enneagram to... I was like, can you predict a narcissist using the Enneagram? And eventually I came to the idea or the conclusion that you can't. That anyone in all 9 realms or 9 stages or 9 personality types, any one of them can be a narcissist, especially when yes, especially when you're in your lowest of health range.
Okay,
But
fair enough. Gotcha.
It is easier to predict codependent human beings.
Oh, how so?
Because there are 3 specific types that are the helper, who is number 2, who is...
That's me.
there you go. Who's a codependent type, who genuinely likes helping people. There's the loyalist, who is a number 6, who is generally someone who is a chameleon-like, who will drop whatever they're doing for others, not because they want to, it's because they feel obligated to do things.
That is parenting. That is 100% the parents made you, sorry, this is my opinion, but parents made you feel as if you had to be in tune with their emotions. Otherwise, you couldn't survive.
Yeah, so there's that one. And then the number 9 is the peacemaker, who's someone who is, I guess, the referee in a sense of a family or in life. And they themselves find themselves in codependence. So in my opinion, like those 3 are probably the highest rate of codependency.
How'd you learn that? That's really interesting.
I've read the book a couple times in my life, and when I was thinking about it, my favorite people.
Are those types?
No, because I know all types, but I know the ones that get me angry the most, and I know what types they are. So,
can I ask you something?
Yes.
Do you know what your siblings are?
I know what my dad would be.
Which one would that be?
My dad. Well, my dad is either an 8 or a 3.
What's a 3 again?
Hold on, my brother. Hold.
Sorry, getting excited.
Let me finish.
I'm sorry.
Hold on, I'm going to get all of these up here. Enneagram, because some different versions have different names for things, depending on who you go to. So let me get the official name of the number 3. The achiever.
Okay.
So the challenger is the 8. The achiever is 3. And sometimes, the 1 might fall into the category. 8 3s and 1s are people I get along with the least.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I think my brother and my dad are. My brother is not the achiever. My brother is probably. I don't even. My brother is tough because do you know why my brother is tough to actually peg?
Why?
Because he is in such unhealth.
Yeah. So it's hard to know.
That it masks things.
Yeah.
So it would be very hard to tell. I think 4, he should possibly be a 4. The individualist. Self-absorbed, temperamental.
Yeah.
Because, when you're in such unhealth for so long, it's hard to tell what you really are. So I'm going to say my brother's a 4.
Okay.
But an unhealthy.
What
4.
about your sister?
My sister, I've never tried to peg. Usually, I'm pegging people that are giving me,
You're pegging people?
Not pegging.
I'm sorry.
I am kind of doing my own assessment of people. I guess when I feel like they're giving me a hard time, I'm like, what is that? My sister doesn't give me, a hard time. My sister's good.
That makes sense.
My sister and I like my sister a lot, and she's good to me.
And how, I don't know if you want to talk about this on here, but how has that been?
Our family dynamic?
Yeah.
I'm in no contact with my brother. I actually blocked his number.
I know that much. And you guys were doing therapy, right?
I stopped going. My sister thought it was best for me and her to not go.
Okay.
And so it's just my mom and dad. And I don't ask if they keep going because I am removing myself from the situation completely.
Gotcha.
And so I've concentrated on doing the show and improving myself, removing myself. And if people bring it up, if I'm in the room and can't get away, I guess I have to listen to what's going on.
What do you mean? Sorry.
Oh no, because I've been to some family birthdays. So like if someone brings it up and I'm in a car with everyone, of course I can't get away from listening or hearing. Obviously people ask me questions, and I go, don't know, and like it that way.
Yeah.
It's peaceful.
For sure. I bet, yeah.
So anyway, we've run around an hour and something minutes here. So
Yeah, I really hope that it's been entertaining for people. And I'm sorry if I was too excitable there.
Oh no, do you know why I like the show? We got to talk about this. We got to. I don't really show my personality that much, or at least I don't think I do, because I guess I'm always in like a very, very serious mode. And
in like an interview mode,
in an interview,
right?
interview mode, and trying to create like a safe space for everyone talking or everyone sharing their stories. So I kind of wanted to, to do this to, because I like doing these episodes and show my personality, because I am a little quirky and have an off the wall sense of humor most of the time. And I get angry and, I said, a million times, so I'm going to kick myself about that when listening to this episode. Anyway,
that's okay.
Anyway, let's just end it here.
Okay.
And you should everyone before I leave, give us some 5-star ratings there on the iTunes, on Stitcher, on Spotify. Give us some reviews. Write some reviews. Tell your friends about this podcast. Tell your friends about my good old friend Melissa, and who loves Blink-182. She loves what else? She loves cats, and and she likes people, and she likes helping people. And I thank her for being in my life, because during some terrible but yet awesome terrible times, Melissa was always there for me, and she's a good friend. And
well, I feel the same about you.
All right.
And I've been very grateful for this podcast. So thank you to all the listeners and the people who have shared their story.
Yeah, and also we have a favorite podcast. It's called the Dopey Podcast. And if you want to listen to a great addiction podcast, listen to the Dopey Podcast, because we both love it. I'm going to listen to it after the show.
Nice.
And that's the end of that. So this has been the How to Survive the Narcissist Apocalypse podcast. I said it correctly this time. I am Chad the Impaler. This was who?
Melissa.
And thanks for listening.
Thank you.
This is an emergency broadcast transmission. This is not a test. This is an emergency broadcast transmission. This is not a test. Please remain calm.